Hello everybody and welcome to the third video in our series of videos on the plantations. As always, we begin with our learning outcomes, so by the end of this presentation you guys should know how Edward VI changed the policy towards Ireland. Second, you guys should know why Queen Mary I adopted the policy of plantation and what this policy was. And finally, you guys should know 3 facts about what that plantation was and why it failed. In our previous videos, we saw how the people in Ireland could be divided into 3 main groups: the Gaelic Irish, Anglo-Normans and the Old English. We also saw how King Henry VIII broke with the Catholic Church and established himself as the head of the English or Anglican Church. And we also saw how he found it too expensive to keep an army in Ireland to keep the Irish under control, and he adopted a policy of surrender and regrant, where Gaelic lords surrendered their claims to their kingdoms to Henry and promised loyalty to him in return for the land back and an English title like Lord. Adopting English laws was a big change, as before this the land was owned by the whole clan, and they elected the leader, known as the Taoiseach. The Taoiseach was only given a section of the land while he was leader. Under the English law of succession, the eldest son of the leader got everything and resulted in increased wealth and power for one family instead of for the whole clan. This policy enjoyed remarkable success, but there was opposition in England and among the Old English who believed the Gaelic Irish couldn't be trusted. So, when Henry died in 1547 and was succeeded by his 9-year-old son, Edward VI, there was a change in policy. Edward was controlled by his Lord Protectors, who held the real power. These were advisors, and they were determined on 2 things: the conquest of Ireland and the imposition of the Protestant religion. His policy of conquest, or the Lord Protector's policy of conquest, led to them trying to maintain a large army in Ireland, which again proved to be a very expensive policy. Also, the policy to impose the new Anglican religion was controversial, as they tried to change the teachings of the church by introducing a new common book of prayer that should have been used in all Anglican churches. Again, this was a shift from Henry. He was only interested in who governed the church and not in the actual teaching. The premature death of Edward in 1553 at the age of 15 was met with a lot of happiness in Ireland. Even the Old English who lived in the Pale were quite happy, as they had been really not too pleased with his meddling in the church. Edward VI was succeeded by his older sister, Queen Mary I. Mary was a Catholic, a devout Catholic, and wanted to reverse the Protestant Reformation. She aggressively tried to stomp out Protestantism in England and executed some of those who refused to reinstate or re-establish the Catholic Church, earning her the nickname of Bloody Mary. However, she did give her full support to those who thought that tough military actions were the only thing that the Gaelic Irish understood. She did want to reduce the size of the army, and she decided on a policy in Ireland known as Plantation. The plan was to evict any rebellious Gaelic Irish and confiscate their lands. But then, instead of giving it to other Gaelic Irish or Anglo-Normans, Mary wanted to find loyal Englishmen that could be planted on the land. She launched repeated campaigns west of the Pale to extend its frontiers. She confiscated the counties of Laois, which she renamed Queen's County, and Offaly, which she renamed King's County, after her husband, King Philip II of Spain. He, of course, was the son of the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, who we met in our study of the Reformation. The Laois and Offaly plantation of 1556 was the first plantation in Ireland. The plan was to plant or colonise the 2 counties with loyal subjects. She turned 2 fortresses at the modern-day towns of Portlaoise and Dangan into county towns called Maryborough and Philipstown. The 2 counties were then divided into 3, with the Gaelic Irish who pledged loyalty to the Queen and promised to live in English style, given the land furthest away from the Pale. The other 2/3 were leased to loyal Englishmen or men from the Pale. However, the families that had been dispossessed, the O'Connors, the O'Dempseys, and particularly the O'Moores, continued to attack the settlers and the Pale itself, and these warriors who were attacking were known as woodkerns. Time after time, they were driven back to the mountains and bogs, only to re-emerge and attack the settlers, burn their crops and farms, and drive off their animals. The plantation, which was supposed to extend English rule and cost less than having an army, there turned out to be a very expensive venture. The cost of protecting the settlers proved massive due to the constant raids, and it did not pacify the Irish at all. The plantation was a failure by all accounts. However, the English were to learn from this venture, and in the next video we will look at the plantation of Munster. That brings us to the end of our presentation. So by now you guys should know how Edward VI changed the policy towards Ireland. You guys should know why Queen Mary adopted the policy of plantation and what this policy was. And finally, you guys should know 3 facts about the plantation and why it failed. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys got something good from this video.